As your another pre-recorded discussion in zoology. So we've already done knowing the classification of animals pertaining to their kingdoms. Okay. So now let's proceed on knowing the classification of different animals. So let's start discussing the two main group on how we can classify an animals. We have vertebrates and invertebrates. So vertebrates is particularly on the animals that with a backbone. Sorry, and invertebrates are those animals that is without a backbone. So that is the differences between the two main group on how you can classify the animals. Always remember that vertebrates, animals that is with backbone, and when we say invertebrates, it is animals that is without backbone. Okay, so backbone is literally the part of your body, or the part of the body of the animals. So meaning to say, when the symbol of backbone is pertaining to the strength in the character of an animals. When we say strength, it is pertaining to the firmness of the body inside the animals or a certain animal. So let's continue the discussion by knowing first the first main group, the first main group, which is vertebrates. So vertebrates, as I've said, is an animals with backbones, and it can be divided into five. We have mammals, amphibians, bird, fish, and reptiles. So let's discuss it one by one. But before we will discuss it, let's know first what are those invertebrates. Invertebrates are the animals that I have said without a backbone, while vertebrates are those animals that is with backbone. Okay, backbone is a part of your body, or a part of the body inside the animals. Okay, so these are the examples of the animals that has a backbone. Ito, as you can see, from the illustration or from the picture below, we can eventually know where is the backbone. This area, yan, that is the area of the parts that is backbone. Okay, this area. Okay, let's proceed. So one of an animals that has a backbone is mammals. So mammals give birth to live young and feed their babies with their own milk, more or less covered with hair, and it is a warm-blooded. Okay, so aside from mammals as having a backbone, or it is a kind that is belong to vertebrates animals, one of the characteristics of mammals is it has the presence of mammary glands, which in females can produce milk for feeding. So that is the importance of mammals. Aside from it as a vertebrate animals, or aside from this animals has a backbone, mammals also has a presence of mammary glands. When we say mammary glands, saan makikita? For example, in the female aspect, the mammals can produce its own milk for feeding the young ones. Meaning to say, the babies the babies of the mammals can be fed by the own milk of the parent of that mammal. Okay, so that is mammals. Let's proceed to birds. Birds also has a backbone. So birds classification or characteristics of birds have feathers, lay eggs, and it is also warm-blooded. Okay, let me emphasize more on being a warm-blooded. So why those animals can be classified as a warm-blooded? Because these animals cannot survive in extreme condition. So that is a warm-blooded or extreme temperature, sorry. So again, when we say warm-blooded, yung kanina pala, if the I will be correcting my word, the first sentence that I've said, that if the organism or the animals cannot survive in extreme temperature condition, that is called cold-blooded. Pero kapag warm-blooded animals pala, it is defined as an animals that can regulate and maintain constant internal body temperature. So meaning to say, even it is cold or not, nababalance niya yung temperature. While if the animals is a cold-blooded animals, hindi. They cannot survive in an extreme temperature. Yon. So, birds is, one of the characteristics of birds have feathers and they can lay eggs. Totoo naman, that is actually the characteristics of a bird. That's why that birds can be considered as a unique one because birds have feathers. Okay, so that is another examples of a vertebrate animals, which is called birds. Let's proceed. Let's proceed now to reptiles. Reptiles, comparing to birds and mammals, it is a cold-blooded animals. Kaya nga sinasabi ko again, may explanation about the differences between cold and warm. Cold-blooded animals are those animals that cannot survive in an extreme temperature. While in a warm-blooded animals, these are the animals that can balance or that can survive in an extreme temperature. So that is called warm-blooded. So reptiles also can lay eggs, have a dry skin covered with scales. So that is a reptiles. Next to reptiles, we also have amphibians. So amphibians also is a cold-blooded animals. They cannot survive in extreme temperature. Aside from that, amphibians also can lay eggs, have a smooth, moist skin. Why? Because most of the amphibians is living in a lake or in a certain that is actually the habitat of theirs is merong kaakibat na tubig. So that is why the skin of the amphibians is like smooth or moist skin, are able to live on land as well as in the water. So meaning to say, hindi lang naman they can switch habitat, they can survive in a land and they can also survive in a water, but most of the amphibians is on the water habitat, okay, or water places. Okay, let's proceed to another. Aside from amphibian, we also have fish. Comparing or similar to the two vertebrates, fish also are a cold-blooded animal. Fish can lay eggs, but some do give birth to live young, have a moist skin covered in scales, breathe through gills. Okay, so that is a fish. So let me explain that there are some fish that give birth to live young, and also some fish can lay eggs. So meaning to say, there are some fish that cannot produce a lay eggs. Why? Because of the span of their life. So meaning to say, para tumaas yung lifespan ng isang fish, they cannot produces a lay eggs. But some of the fish can produce a lay eggs, and in producing naman, the production naman of releasing the eggs it's both pwede sa munganga and pwede din sa reproductive system ng organism or ng animals, which is fish. Okay, so let's proceed to another slide. What am I? So this is actually a question if this is a mammal, a bird, fish, of amphibian, or reptile. Of course, this animal is what? So this animal is a squirrel. So what particular group of or classification of animals does squirrel belong? Of course, squirrel is a mammal. Why? Because its body is warm and furry, and squirrel feed the babies on milk. So kaya nga, when we say vertebrates animals, these are those animals that having a backbone. And vertebrates animals that belongs to mammals has also a mammary gland that can produce in female, that can produce a milk. So that is why squirrel is belong to mammal. Okay? So let's proceed. How about this one? What am I? Mammal, bird, fish, amphibian, or reptile. How about this one? So this animals also is belong to a wild cats. What particular wild cats? Of course, a cheetah. So cheetah is belong to a mammal. Why? Because as again, cheetah covered a hair, and aside from that, cheetah can feed their babies on milk. So that is cheetah, or that is the classification of the animal called cheetah. Okay, let's proceed to a frog. Ito, what kind of animal is this? This is very very parang unang tingin pa lang you can eventually know what kind of animals is this one. This is a frog. Then since this is a frog, so frog is a amphibian. So what is the classification of a frog? Why this animal involved or included in amphibian? Because the skin of it is moist and smooth, and also frog can lay eggs, and they can live near and both land and water. Okay, so that is frog. Let's proceed to another. This is very also easy. As one look pa lang, masabi mo na, this is a bird. And why? Because bird is a warm and covered with feathers. That is why that makes bird as a unique animals, because it has a feather. Animals also can lay eggs, which hatch out into chicks. Okay, so that is bird. Next one, bat. How about bat? What can you say about this? So literally, bat is although bat has a wings, but in fact, bat is particular or belong to mammal. Kasi bakit? Bat is covered as hair. Covered siya in hair, not feathers. If the animals is covered in feathers, meaning to say it is a bird. But if the animals covered in hair, meaning to say that is a mammal. Okay, I've also in bat sa paniki naman, they bat can feed the young babies of them in milk. Pwede siya, bat produces a milk, so that makes the bat as a mammal. Okay, proceed another example. This one, an elephant. Elephant is very easy. Elephant, so since it can be produces, elephant can produces a milk, meaning to say it is belong to mammal again. And elephant has a hair. Meron pa rin siyang buhok and buhok sa katawan niya. So that is a mammal. Even though in the far, hindi natin makita, sa malayo hindi natin makita yung buhok ng animal. But if you can go to the nearest, yung parang very very close to the animal, which is elephant, makikita mo na may buhok yung elephant. So that makes the elephant as mammal. Okay, let's proceed. How about this? Crocodile. So as you look to the picture, you can eventually know that crocodile is a reptile. Why? Because the body or the skin itself of the reptile is covered in a dry scales. So meaning to say, if the skin or the outside preference of a certain animal is a dry scales, meaning to say it is belong to reptile. And reptile also can lay an egg. Okay? So let's proceed to another example. How about this one? Owl. Okay. Owl is very, very easy. As you can see, it has a feathers. What types of classification of animals that has a feather? Of course, it is a bird. So if the animals has a feathers, it is belong to bird. Okay, bird. Owl also can lay eggs, and it calls as a chicks. Okay. Proceed. How about this one? This is a kind of fish. So this one is a fish. And why? Because the body of it is called to touch and is covered in scales. Can lay eggs also. Use gills to breathe with underwater. Okay? Next. How about this? This is actually a turtle. Turtle, yun na nga. as a first look with the picture, you can eventually know that it is a reptile kasi it is covered as a dry scale. Kapag yung kalabas or the external appearance of the animal is dry and naka-scales, meaning to say it is belong to reptiles. And reptiles also can lay an eggs. Okay? Next, how about this one? This is a kind of... So, how about this one? So, this is actually a type or a species that is belong to lizard. So, lizard has a moist skin also, moist and smooth skin, and it can live either water or in land. So, what type of classification in animals is that? It is a amphibian. Okay? Next, we also have a deer. Okay. Deer is a mammal. Why? Because deer has a warm and furry hair. Deer also can feed their babies in milk. So meaning to say, it is belong to mammal. Next, it is not last picture. We have snakes. How about snakes? So, kanina lang, I've already discussed you. And of course, picture pa talaga yun ng snake. Snake is belong to reptile. Why? Because, yun ang sinasabi ko, if it is dry scales, the external part or external appearance of the animal is dry and scales, it is a reptile. And reptile also can produce or lay an eggs. Okay? Next, this is a species or type of fish. So eventually, if we will be focusing now on the type of fishes. I will be giving you the names of the fish. So just for now, let's identify the classification. So since it is a fish, again, the body of it is cold to touch and it's covered with scales. It can lay eggs, and how the fish can breathe. Of course, they use as gills to breathe with underwater. Okay, so that's it. That is the end of our discussion. So that is the continuation of the classification in animals. How can you classify the different animals if it is mammal, bird, fish, amphibian, or reptile? From the two main group of the animals, which is vertebrates that has a backbone and invertebrates which has without backbone. Okay, so that is our discussion. I will be continuing it to the next part or to the next lesson that I will be discussing to you. If you have inquiries and a question, you can leave that in our GC. And after my whole discussion, I will be giving you I think an oral recitation next week. Just prepare, and I will be giving you an update and instruction to our GC. Okay, again, if you have question and inquiries about this topic, you can leave it in our GC. So thank you very much, and wait for another lesson that I will be uploading after the animal classification. Okay, thank you.